Hello, I'm Daniel Lader, founder of Lader CPA and Associates, and welcome back to our Instagram Live series where we are talking about building a successful private practice from beginning to infinity. A therapist said with a grin, "Let's talk about feelings within." The accountant replied, "Emotions aside, can we write off this session as a win?" So, the topic this week for discussion is understanding payroll taxes when you're hiring your first employees. Remember last week we talked about the difference between employees and contractors? Let's jump into the employee portion of it and go into more detail. Now, we all know that when you have an employee, there are payroll taxes. So let's talk a little bit about those. Payroll taxes are the taxes that are withheld by the employer and then paid on or in behalf of the employee. Now, these are not the same as your personal income tax or your business income tax. These are totally separate, and that can be a little confusing to some people. Payroll taxes are not income tax. So let's talk some more about it. First off, the employee side. There's a few taxes. Let's go through them real quick. The Social Security tax, that's 6.2%. The Medicare tax, 1.45%. Now, these are taxes the business is not paying. The employee is paying. That's being reduced from his earnings. But the employer is who is withholding those taxes and mailing them and sending them into the IRS or to the states if they get it. So the employee is paying these taxes, but the employer is holding the money and sending it in. So again, Social Security, 6.2%, Medicare, 1.45%. And then we also have the federal income tax withholdings. That's based on the employee's W-4 they would have given you. Now, I said payroll taxes is not income tax, and it's not. The employer is not paying these taxes. But for the employee, that federal withholding, that's a prepayment of their own income tax. We won't go into any more about the employee's responsibility with that, but you already know how it works. That's a prepayment of the taxes that they eventually pay on April or before April 15th. Federal income tax, there's also a state income tax. Now, with the states, it gets really complicated really fast depending on which state you're in. And if you're a firm that has multiple state requirements, then you'll want a servicer. There's many different state taxes that are the employee's portion and the employer portion. For the employee, there's the income tax, of course. Some states, such as New York or California, they have additional payroll taxes for the employee. Again, the employer's withholding it and paying it, but it comes at the cost of the employee. So those are some of the employee payroll taxes. We covered the big ones, the main ones, but check the states. They can get complicated based on what state you're working with. Now let's talk about the employer's side of the payroll tax. First, they have the matching Social Security and Medicare taxes, 6.2 and 1.45%. So that's the same. It's just an easy match. The employer also has the federal unemployment tax. That's, unless the exceptions apply, that is 6% on the first $7,000 you pay an employee. That's only due once a year, and we'll talk more about that in a bit. And then back to the complexity of the states. Some states have their own unemployment tax. They also have disability insurance. They have paid family leave. They have whatever else they have going on. So the states can be more complicated. Pay attention to them. You don't want to upset your state. Also, many states have a workers' compensation insurance requirement. Not quite payroll tax, but it is linked to payroll. So that's another thing to be aware of. Now, remember, as you're hiring your employees, this goes back to the question of, do you want to hire a contractor who ultimately is cheaper, or do you want to hire an employee who costs more but ultimately is a long-term fixture in your business? So Again, these tax filing responsibilities for the employee fall on the employer. Now, when you have payroll taxes, they are due quarterly. If you're confused, if you're thinking about quarterly taxes and confusing that with your payroll taxes, please separate those in your mind. Payroll taxes are also due quarterly, but they're not the same as quarterly payments. Your payroll taxes, the federal ones are on a Form 941, and then each quarter, and then annually you file your W-2s, and you have a special Form 940 for your FUTA, your federal unemployment tax. So those are due quarterly, generally April 15th, July 15th. Of course, I forgot all the quarterly dates. October 15th and January 15th. If I got those dates wrong, you know how quarters work. And then the W-2s and W-3s, those are also due by January the following year. Now, if you are not correctly filing your payroll reports, this is a problem you want to get fixed right away. This is a problem your bookkeeper, your accountant will want you to get fixed right away, because unfortunately payroll penalties can go far beyond just the business owner. The IRS can get pretty aggressive with that because you're dealing with other people's tax withholdings, not just the business itself, and they can get pretty aggressive with their penalties and their consequences for doing these incorrectly. So if you don't already have one, you have a payroll specialist, or you're using a software like Gusto or ADP or even QuickBooks Payroll, have someone helping you with this. Don't do payroll on your own without any help. You'll get it wrong. You'll need help, and you'll need someone to fix it for you. So either you have someone helping you, a professional, or you're using one of those services that I mentioned, and there's other services out there as well. But don't get your payroll wrong. You'll regret that, and it won't be a pleasant fix. Now, as I mentioned before, payroll is the main reason that it makes employees a more expensive hire than a contractor. So keep that in mind. And I want you to remember one last thing as we end this session. If you're paying someone a W-2 wage, Uncle Sam wants a cut. Plan for it, file it, and don't let it sneak up on you. Now, if you have any questions about this session today, go ahead and comment on the video below or DM me, and I'll respond as I'm able to. If you would like to schedule a 30-minute free session with my firm to talk about your firm's taxes and possibilities that we can work with, go ahead and send me a DM. We'll send you a link to schedule that free 30-minute discovery call. Go ahead and like and follow and subscribe so you can be aware of future events and see some of our tax advice that we're giving. Go ahead and visit our website, latercpa.com. I will see you all on the next video. Have a great weekend and keep helping others to help themselves. Bye.